Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the SH Figuarts Street Fighter Ken Masters figure, which is almost the exact same figure as Ryu, minus the head, two sets of pieces, and of course the accessories and paint, which is kind of good. I mean, they're supposed to be mostly just color swaps in the game anyway, or at least they used to be, and that's okay. Ryu was a decent enough figure, so that's mostly alright. So there's some good stuff and some bad stuff. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 16 centimeters, which makes him pretty close to... Yeah, he's about 6.25 inches. Let's see, is Ryu... I thought Ryu was a little bit shorter than that. Are they the same? They are the same. Let me measure Ryu again. I seem to remember him being only about 6 inches, but let's check. No, about 6.25. Okay, well... I was wrong about that. So anyway, he's 6.25 inches, which is pretty large for an SH Figuarts, and it's technically too big for 1/12 scale. Usually they're too small for 1/12 scale from SH Figuarts, but well, I don't think Ken's supposed to be 6'5", so that's 6'3". My bad. Anyway, that's pretty big, but it looks pretty good. He's got shading throughout all of the red, some shading on the arms, maybe a little bit too much, honestly, especially right here. It's a little bit excessive. But the aesthetic is generally okay. The orange gloves has some shading. The only real downside to his look is his face and hair. The faces aren't nearly as bad as they looked like they were going to be in the prototype pictures, but they still have this weird kind of anime look that just isn't accurate at all. And then this hair is not really what Ken's hair has ever looked like that I can think of, and I'm fairly well versed in Street Fighter. When did it ever look like that? I can't remember it ever being that kind of short, that particular style. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. I can't think of any. I'm thinking right now, and I can't think of any. So let me know if I'm crazy, and that'll be fine. Alright, so let's talk about the accessories. We have 3 different faces. We have the neutral face that comes on him in the package. We have one where he's kind of grinning with his teeth showing, which looks kind of weird. Then we have one where he's yelling, which is probably the best look out of all of them. We have only 5 different hands. We have the 2 fist hands that come on him in the package. One, here's my finger hand, and then one set of gripping or grappling hands, style pose hands, if you will. Then lastly, we have our flaming uppercut, our orange Shoryuken. Very nicely done, the fire accessory. I like it a whole bunch. A little bit weird the way it swirls around by the fist, but still really cool, really nicely executed. So that's it of the real accessories. We do also have these paperback cards, which are for like diorama type poses, and they're still warped from being shoved into the package, but they're still printed well enough. So I guess if you really like the idea of this, you could just flatten them out and use them, and it's a cool enough idea, but I don't have the space for stuff like this in my collection shelves. I'm guessing most people don't as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and run through the articulation real quick, just because, even though it's all... Oh, by the way, the different things, the sleeves are different, and the lower legs are different. Otherwise, it's the exact same figure. I guess the gloves are probably different too. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so the sleeves, the forearms, and the lower legs. The entire body is the same. The gi is the same. The upper legs is the same. All that kind of stuff is the same. Alright, so we have a ball peg in the neck, and then another, is it a double or a single? It's a double ball peg on the top of the neck, which is the best head articulation option you can have. You can just pose it however you want to without having to take anything off or wiggle it around or anything. It just works wonderfully. So that's very nice. We have a butterfly joint for the shoulder with this floating sleeve piece which we were talking about being different than Ryu's, and that's okay. It gives us decent range. We have a ball peg connecting the arm to the shoulder, but you have to have that giant gap because they have the type of shoulder joint where the shoulder is over the joint, not part of the joint, and so you have to have that gap in order to make it work, which it does, but you do have a giant gap because of it, which is why I much prefer the standard type of ball hinge shoulder where the shoulder is part of the joint, that it eliminates that giant gap. Here's hoping Broly doesn't have that giant gap like they showed, because that's what it's going to look like, only bigger, much bigger. We do have a bicep swivel out of that, but minimal. We have our double jointed elbow, which gives you much better than 90 degrees. You can rotate at the elbow, so there's an option there. You have your ball hinge wrist, which has good range all the way around, full rotation, so that's fine. For the torso, we have a single ball peg as far as I can tell in the upper torso, and then another one in the lower torso. It's kind of a pain in the ass to pose the upper torso, just because the gi's not that thin, even though it is flexible. So you're mostly going to do most of your posing. I guess you can do it. Leaning forward's not bad. Leaning it back is a little more tricky. But it does work. I mean, you get decent range out of it. Side to side, let's try it. That's what we're here for, after all. Yeah, it's a little tricky to pose his upper torso diaphragm joint, but the lower torso one does work really nicely. It's actually a double, if I remember. Yeah, it's a double ball peg. So you get decent range out of it. I'm pretty pleased with that. Floating this thing. Legs go pretty far out to the side. Not as tight as they could be, that's for sure. There's kind of a loose spot in there. Not great, but it'll do. Going forward and back, no problem at all. Really good range. And then we do have a thigh swivel. And a single jointed knee, which is not the best looking knee in the world, but it's definitely not the worst. So again, it'll do. And then we have a hinge for the foot. Doesn't go very far forward or back. Actually, it goes pretty far back. You just have to tuck it into the pants. And then you do have an ankle rocker because it's essentially a full-on ball hinge ankle. So that's really nice. And then the toe hinge is there. It'll do again. So that's kind of the theme of this review. Ryu and Ken, both of them, are good enough that you won't probably be too upset, but they're not quite good enough that you're going to be super happy. So I think a lot of people are going to be saying, well, it'll do. And that's probably about it. It's definitely good enough that for your collection, it'll do. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't, because I have new videos up every single day. We talk about action figures, movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you come back for that, and in the meantime, keep collecting.